Hello, trash kickers. This is T Brown 65. For this episode, I'm coming at you with a complex Calculus 2 problem that involves evaluating integrals. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a problem here. Okay, this is the integral of x squared minus 16. All over x cubed. And remember that this is dx, okay? So question, how do we go about solving this problem? Well, you have tangent squared theta plus 1 equals secant squared theta that's supposed to be a theta. So if we were to move the 1 over to the other side, we get tangent squared theta equals secant squared theta minus 1. Yeah, that's supposed to be an S, not a G, just so you know. Okay, now that's out of the way, so what do we know? Well, we know that x equals 4 secant theta, okay? So the question is, what is secant theta going to equal to? Well, answer is it's going to equal to x over 4 equals secant theta. That's secant theta right there. Okay? That's what we know for a fact. Okay. So, what do you think x squared is going to equal to? Well, x squared is going to equal 16 secant squared theta. So, if we were to square both of these sides here, x squared (16) secant squared theta. Okay. Now here's the question for you. The question is, what happens if we cube the 4 secant theta? If we were to cube that, well, 4 times 4 is 16. So if you multiply 16 by 4, you get 64 secant cubed theta. So secant cubed, well, that's x cubed. 64 secant cubed theta. Okay. Just showing you what can happen here. Alright, so you got 64 secant cubed theta. Now the question is, what is dx equal to? Well, if you take the derivative of this, the derivative of this one would be 4 secant theta tangent theta d theta. And remember, this is d theta, okay? And you want to make sure that you put the proper notations here, because I know that at university, if you're taking a calculus class, if you have bad notation, you will lose points on your math problem when it comes time for an exam. Alright? So the question is, well, what is theta going to equal to? Well, that's a good question. Well, theta is going to equal inverse secant of x over 4. Want to make sure that all of you can read it just fine. Okay. Okay. X squared minus 16. Alright, and remember that this one here is the opposite. Actually, you know, it's easier if I just type it out. Okay. I hope that all of you can read it. So remember, this is the opposite here. So, what we have here is we have the theta, or I shouldn't say theta. I mean, we have secant squared theta, we have that. But we have an integral of 16 secant squared theta minus 16. And then what you do is you multiply that by 4 secant theta tangent theta d theta. And then remember that all this, and remember what x cubed is, right? So this is going to be 64 secant cubed theta. Alright? So this one is going to be 4 tangent theta times. Now keep in mind that in this situation, the dot and I'm going to use the x simply because, but you can also use the dot as a substitute for the multiplication sign because it's the same thing. Alright, so we got 4 secant theta, tangent theta, d theta. Secant theta, tangent theta, d theta. Yeah, I see viral math problems going on YouTube, so I think people who like watching those videos, this one's definitely going to be attractive. Okay, and all this is going to be all over 64 secant cubed theta. Okay. So, what do we have left over? Well, that's a good question. And it looks like we're running out of room here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this vertically. So that way there will be more room to write. Alright. Yeah, sorry you had to see that. Alright. So now we have the integral of 16 secant theta and what we have here is we have tangent squared theta. And remember, we still have d theta, okay? And of course, this is going to be all over 64 secant cubed theta. Okay. And then the next thing you do after that is, here's the question for you. What's 16 divided by 64? You want to know what that is? It's 1/4. So you pull out 1/4 out of the integral. And all you're left is with tangent squared theta over secant squared theta. I hope everyone's with me up to this point. And remember, this is still d theta, okay? Because notation does matter. And of course, we know that this is going to be 1/4 integral of sine squared theta d theta. Okay. And then we have, and after that, because we know that this one here is going to equal 1 minus cosine of 2 theta over 2. Okay. So the question is, what are we left now? Well, we are left with 1/8. I know, Calculus 2 is a tough class, people. And that's why several college students struggle with it. You know, back when I was in Calculus 2, half the class had to withdraw because they just couldn't handle it. You know, the instructor made the exams hard, and yeah, that's why students had to drop it. Okay, so we have d theta, remember this is the integral, minus 1/8 of cosine of 2 theta d theta. Let me tell you, when I took Calculus 2, I didn't like the class myself, but I still passed, so there you go. I just worked my way through. Okay. And of course, we know that this is going to be 1/8 theta. It's really hard to use a mouse and write on a electronic paper. Make sure this is an S, not a 5. Okay, sine of 2 theta. Alright. And then don't forget to add C. Okay. And then what happens next is you have 1/8 theta minus 1/8 sine theta cosine theta plus C. Okay. And we're running out of room here. Yeah, this is pretty long. I'm gonna have to go to the other side here. Alright. What I'll do is I'll draw a line to divide this piece of paper here, electronic paper. I'll just draw a line here so that way it'll be easy to keep stuff organized. Okay. And then what you do next is you pull out 1/8 from both of these. So it's going to equal to one-eighth theta minus sine of theta cosine of theta plus c Okay, so are we okay at this point? Alright, and what's going to happen is this is going to end up being 1/8 inverse secant of x/4. Minus the square root of x squared minus 16 over x. Remember, this is all over x, okay? I hope that you don't get confused here. And then you multiply by 4 over x. I'm going to go ahead and move these over. Nope. Transparent selection would be fine. Alright. Plus C. Alright. And then that's going to equal to 1/8 inverse secant of x/4 minus 4 times the square root of x squared minus 16 . Remember, this is all over x squared. Keep that in mind. Plus C. Alright. Alright, trash kickers. that should be your final answer to the problem here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a alright. Yeah, that was a pretty long problem, wasn't it? Alright. So anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a like. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you'd like to see more of my activities and you have not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope that all of you have a good one.